Flash and Lantern fans assemble because Flash versus Lantern is one of the best DCKO fights so far. Probably because it was written by Mark Waid. So as we go in, we get some Wally stuff because this is part of the mainline Flash book, which makes me think Flash is gonna win. But Wally's thinking of the Speed Force in the past, trying to save berries. We cut to Jay. Him. He's thinking that Guy might be a challenge, and Guy's like, "Oh, this Elder would be easy," which that's already making Guy seem antagonistic, like setting him up to lose. So he's, they're about to fight, but Jay's like, "How don't we just play games, young book?" So, old guy's like, "You sure that's allowed?" And he's like, "Hey, I don't see the heart stopping us." So they play some checkers. Guy flips the board because he doesn't know how to play. And, they basically get into an argument. And Guy's basically telling them, calling him old, insulting him, insulting the elders, saying that Justice Society should disband. And he was like, maybe if Wildcat knew when to quit, he wouldn't have died. So immediately Jay takes off his hat after he's like, "You want me to retire, huh, boy?" And breaks his nose by throwing his hat, but already making it look like Guy is going to lose again. That's like three strikes, making Guy suddenly appear antagonistic and putting Jay in a more heroic light. But as Jay starts running around him, Guy makes a razor blade with his lantern and actually cuts Jay, with an omnidirectional cut. So Jay actually loses. He forms back as a dang Speed Force, being, as Guy comes back as a Red Lantern, actually, for going green. And Jay manages to beat him down, basically going back and forth, zooming in, zooming out, and hitting him with the dang 19th century smash because he takes all his pent up like energy from like the past century and overloads the Red Lantern ring, blowing up Guy. So he really hit him with that, that 100-year, 1900s, 20th century special. But there's Emerald Mist as Guy dies because Jay's like, he's still a good man. He's a soldier like I used to be. And then Jay actually alludes to not being a good man, or saying a good man is something I was, making it look like Jay might actually lose. So it's the third round. Guy embraces his heritage with this Voldarian thing, which I'm not tapped into Guy Gardner lore, so I don't actually know what this is. But Jay basically says this is a nice planet you brought us to. A shame you had to die here, which it's inadvertently, subtly flipping. Jay is the more antagonistic one as they go on, and then Guy ends up getting the win because he snatches Jay because he's like, "You're not just fighting me, you're fighting the ancestors of this whole planet and my Voldarian bloodline." So he's essentially like, "So go ahead and respect my elders," as he takes Jay down. And Jay's like, "Beat up Darkseid for me," and Guy's like, "I will," which I think this is one of the best books so far because they pretty much just completely made it look like Guy was gonna lose, with everything making him seem antagonistic. But the fight was borderline a lesson, with him disrespecting elders, disrespecting Jay, Wildcat Jay, and ending with embracing his elders and using them to win. Like, this fight was a lesson that was like a bait and switch of who won.